I hope that this show, one of these people, us, hopefully it just drives some form of inspiration in your own life, whether you're an employee or a manager or a leader of a freaking Fortune 500 company. We're all out here trying. So that's what we're just always trying to break down, how people do this. And I don't know, it's fun for us. So hopefully it's fun for you.
What does it mean to plant your flag? It means you're not afraid.
It means you're passionate about what you do.
It means you're here to serve others.
In business, in life.
In good and bad.
You aren't afraid to fly your colors proudly because you know
you serve a greater purpose. This is the Plant Your Flag podcast with Mike Bean
and Jeremy Mountain.
Hey, welcome back, all you Plant Your Flag fans. Happy to have you. As you noticed, it's Jerry and myself. We're going to be doing another recap. We're going to go through the last 6 episodes. He did 3, I did 3. We're just going to talk about what we found to be interesting. I think a lot of the stuff that we found interesting are the same, but we have our different opinions and our different takes. It's also different when you're watching them back than if you're sitting in the seat,
in the driver's seat.
Yeah, right. So it's kind of a different experience just to watch somebody else do it, and even watching your own back. I would have to say it's fair.
Yeah, and like just taking away things that we may or may not have experienced in our world.
Yeah.
Regardless of industry. I realized one thing that we didn't really talk about before, the amount of different industries that we've talked to already. And you had mentioned it had been a year and a half already.
Yeah, it's wild. We started in May of 24. About a year later, we went into season 2. But we have 2 remaining episodes from season 1 that we're going to talk about. We'll kick off that in a minute. And yeah, a year and a half almost to the day when we started this thing. So it's flying by.
And the fact that like we've seen so many similar stories of how things started, but then like the lessons that people learn in different industries, it really is pretty remarkable. Mm-hmm. Like this one for today, we have a motorcycle mechanic / shop, like store.
And parts dealer.
Yeah. Yeah, dealership.
Yeah.
We have a property management owner. We have a bookkeeping / consulting owner. We have an owner that sells restroom trailers and more. Yeah. And then we have wealth management. Like,
yeah.
And then, it's pretty remarkable.
And then Stag Pack as well.
Oh, yeah. And I skipped that.
So, like, some of these, we're not going to find anybody else who's in these industries. I like somebody who sells gifts to groomsmen and stag parties.
Yeah.
And then somebody who sells office trailers and restroom trailers.
Yeah.
Like that. Those are kind of, I don't think they have a ton of competition in their space.
No, and it's like, this is why what we get to do is rewarding because we get to work with these people and ultimately, not all of them, but most of these people we've worked with, I guess almost all of them we've worked with in some capacity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been rewarding. You know, we started this thing and we didn't know where it would go, and here we are a year and a half later, and it's fun to kind of look back on these and ideally get you to go watch one of these.
Yeah.
Because each person, I think, has a specific story that it's going to inspire you in some way if you can stand looking at our 2 faces.
Sure, yeah. So, yeah, we love those comments. We love to hear what you like about it.
Yeah, let us know.
Thoughts, and even if it's something you don't like.
Yeah. That'd be easier probably for you. But let it rip.
Yeah. So, yeah, comment, subscribe, like, follow, hit the bell, all those things. Because they just help encourage us to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, for sure.
So, with jumping right into it, if we kind of go in reverse order, the second last episode of season 1 was Jeff Zoreb from Moto Z. I just really appreciated his approach to quality. It's really the center of everything that he does, and it allows him to enjoy what he does, and it just, I think that moral compass is so very interesting. And like you said, there are some similarities, even though his business is vastly different than some of the others we're going to talk about. But a lot of similarities, some of the same pains, and some of the same reasons why he got into business.
Yeah,
which I think is eye-opening and very, very interesting, and what we hope that people can draw from this if they're either on the fence or maybe they're going through something in their business.
Yeah, I feel like we were just talking recently about like the majority of these individuals that we've spoken to either were shit canned or like in terms of forced to find a new solution in life, or they saw things not being done in a way that aligned with them internally and stepped away so that they could sort of lead from the front and dictate that management or lifestyle that they wanted to be a part of. I think that was something Jeff had mentioned, was he had worked with another individual that he just didn't like putting his name on it.
Yeah.
And he got into just reputation, and he talked, him being from a small town, out in like the Holland, Elma kind of area, but then now digitally, and how fast a bad story can travel like wildfire, as he said. And he even put it into, his quote was, "I'd rather have a customer tell 10 people a good story than one person tell 500 people a bad story." And I really found that interesting, because we don't really do marketing. Like, we do a handful of marketing, but over the years, like through what you do and what reputation you've established, that then I've kind of tried to follow and share with the rest of our team over the years, that's what kind of carries us, is the proof is in the pudding. And we don't end up working with everyone forever, but we have a lot of clients that we've extended long, fruitful relationships with. And I think that reputation matters, because that trust matters. And that's, I think, what really kind of keeps us moving forward, is keeping that reputation right.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to get good reviews with good relationships. If you're understanding why the person is doing it, you're going to have a better relationship, and it's going to be a better fit for the long haul. Because if there's too many questions, you have open dialogue, and you're not doing it for the right reasons, it's real easy for the bottom to fall out.
Yeah, and like Jeff said, do one thing wrong, and that's going to follow you around for a while.
Yeah, and if you're doing something that you're not passionate about, it's going to be easy to cut corners. But if you love it like he does,
right,
it's probably a lot easier to do it the right way and feel really good about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Really cool, though. I was also joking with you beforehand that, like, Jeff was one of the episodes that I thought was going to be a little difficult to pull, because every time we've seen him, he's been under a motorcycle or doing something with his hands and just kind of pop in, pop out. But he was like a movie star, just like ready to rock. He had a lot to say. It was very surprising.
It's cool to just, because like you said, he's a lot of times when we would go there, we would be speaking with his wife, and we're talking about some kind of strategy or what have you. And he knows that his time is better spent working on the bike. And so, he'll pop in, say a couple things, and to actually have the time to sit down with him and chat was cool to see that side of him.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And then Steve Kottakis?
Kottakis.
Yeah. We've really gotten to know Steve over the last probably couple months here, and he's got to be one of the funnier clients that we've worked with over the years, to be honest.
He's cool. And it's when we shot that, we barely were working together. So now,
because he joined BHB how long ago?
It's tough for me to keep track of that, but I would say probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
So it is sometimes a challenge to kind of remember who. There's almost 30 members. But and then sometimes they come and they show up as a guest, and then they join a month or two later.
This is BHBWNY.com.
Yeah, it's a great group.
Business helping business.
Yeah.
Mike is the president.
Yes, I am. I am the
low
president.
Key.
Yeah,
no big deal.
No biggie.
But yeah, Steve, like, coming from corporate, as like I have said in the past, I worked at the bottom of the corporate pyramid in several organizations: JCPenney, Express, Olive Garden, and even working in a corporate restaurant versus a mom and pop restaurant, you learn sort of a lot of things. And then working for a smaller company over the last 10 plus years, you learn a lot of things. And I think what was interesting about what Steve had to say from my perspective was he went from managing 500 people to obviously managing a smaller team, but just the way that he learned how to manage and what it takes to kind of connect with people and help people work together. Him being from manufacturing background and then moving into property management, totally different industry, but like leadership, management, you can tell it from a mile away if it's good or bad. That's one thing I learned working in corporate is you started to see what a good manager was, and honestly having some like shit ones, it eventually, as I matured, it did motivate me to be like, okay, I want to be for a younger person what this person should be doing. Because like when you're younger, you think like, oh, fuck this guy, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck her, she's mad. But then you get older and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna be that old person someday.
Right. Yeah.
So what kind of older person do I want to be when I have a younger person working under me? And so like as someone who's like, you know, kind of worked here for a while and had people under our wings, I like to think that I try to communicate in a way to our employees that is the opposite of some of the ways that some of my managers in other worlds were. But just that concept of synergy, and I had to have you and Drake help me out to fully understand the 1 + 1 = 3. But that was another aspect of just the sum of us is greater than the individual.
Yeah,
and I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, and you know, he had the triple win too.
Right.
You know, so you know, he's looking to make sure, just like we talked about before, is it feels good to make sure everybody's happy, and if it's done the right way and the right systems are put in place, then he can accomplish that. And I think it also gives him a nice perspective for the fact that out of the 200, I believe he said 80 units that they oversee, whether they're apartments or, you know, single-family homes or duplexes, what have you, he owns a few himself. So he understands the pain of 2 of those 3 for sure. It's property management and, you know, the owner. And I'm sure at some point he was probably a tenant somewhere.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So,
in Jersey.
yeah, and that, like, I'm glad you brought up the Jersey aspect, because he was looking at not, and he was one of the few people who, I mean, Tracey, she wasn't originally from here, but it seems like Steve started a business not too long after moving to Western New York.
He
Saw
said
an
his job
opportunity.
brought him here,
Yeah.
and then that job was no longer.
Right.
And he had to sort of find a way to pivot.
And he talks about how, because he doesn't have these preconceived notions of said neighborhoods or certain parts of Buffalo, he's kind of an open book when it comes to what properties he'll take in. It has nothing to do with what part of town it's in. It has more to do with the person he's working with and how much do they need his help. And I think that that's an advantage. He also says, because he's been all over the country, that he looks at what other people are doing. And I can relate to that, because back, you know, before social media is what it is, and before there was as many resources, back when I started being media, we had the advantage of, like, understanding things, I think, more than other businesses did when it came to tech and online resources and assets.
Yeah.
So we could kind of peek in what they were doing in California and know that it was going to be a couple of years before the Buffalo, you know, business community was accepting of said strategy. So we have that advantage, and we look out. He does that on a regular basis. You know, he's in Colorado right now. What's somebody in Colorado doing? He's meeting with property managers there. Can he get a little bit of an advantage of not just laser focusing on what's happening in his backyard,
Right.
but opening up that book and just looking all over the place?
Yeah.
I think that gives it a cool advantage, because I think most people would look at it as a disadvantage because Buffalo is so close knit and cliquey.
Oh, for sure.
But he's found a way to use it to his advantage, which I think it just shows his personality.
Yeah.
Because not everybody can be like that, of just kind of accepting it for what it is and using it to prop yourself up versus an excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, he certainly, I feel like, is very unique, and he kind of refers to himself as very Jersey. I don't know a whole lot of people from Jersey, but I do find him to be unique and very funny. And then...
Yeah. Go ahead. Were you going to go to Mike?
I was.
Yeah, because
Speaking of funny.
Right, yeah. So as I speak into the mic about Mike from Stag Pack, you know, just kind of, you know, in a similar breath is talking about Steve, where, you know, he has that 1 + 1 = 3.
Right.
You know, Mike has got 3 partners. They all kind of wear a different hat. And he talked about how he's kind of like the eyes open, creative guy. He also talks about the sum of all the parts being
Yes.
equal more, because as you put all of their different personalities together, they've got a well-oiled machine because they have their strong suits. They learn from each other. They know each other well enough. They're not afraid to disagree.
Yes.
And once again, looking at that as an advantage, not a disadvantage.
Yeah, and sort of entering, he joked about like the long scary hallway and like in terms of starting a business, and he downplayed it a little bit in terms of like anyone can do it, but he also said like if you have people with you and surrounding you that you're not afraid to go down that hallway with. And yeah, I certainly feel like another very interesting individual, very funny. I didn't know him very well, but as I talked to him, I felt like I knew him my whole life. And it was just really interesting sitting down and talking to him because like I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be roughly around my age. And we connected, I think, really, really closely. But I think, like, for me, the one thing that I took away on that kind of mutual connection is when he was talking, I had asked him about, like, what's the most fulfilling thing about what you do. And he mentioned something about, like, every time your phone goes cha-ching and you get an order. And he was, like, specific in saying like it's not necessarily the money coming in because that's really important, but he spoke specifically about that's like when you know someone likes what you had to offer and they liked it enough to actually purchase it. And I just find that similar to when we're working with a new client and building that trust and building that synergy, and they start to have that aha moment or that small sign of success that is sometimes quantifiable in our world in terms of analytics and conversions and things like that. But sometimes it's just a feeling. That's what we've gained an understanding of is when our client has that feeling, that's like, okay, it's not time to rest,
Right.
but it's at least that trust is starting to grow and we are starting that long-term relationship because they see our value. And sometimes it's not trackable, but that's the fulfillment that I get is when our clients start to see similarly that money coming in. But for us, it's like, okay, cross that bridge. Now we can actually feel, I guess, the freedom to kind of move forward and get a little bit more tactical because we at least got that out of the way.
Right. And that allows you to be able to dip your toe into some other mediums and
Experiments,
try some other things because you have their trust. And, you know, it organically grows like that. And, you know, they had done some things like that too, where they saw opportunity that wasn't necessarily right there in front of what they were doing, but they learned from that and they were able to kind of use that as a pivotal moment.
Yes.
To create those other two companies, Imagine Pack and Mafia Pack. And
Yes.
I think like without some of those things, that would be a challenge. Without having that mindset, it would be a huge challenge.
For sure. And I mean, you've had to pivot
Yeah, right.
a few times.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at the whole aspect of, you know, wanting to put my degree in video production to use and doing TV commercials and seeing the grape dying on the vine with television as the economy just circled the drain in 8 and 9. There was that moment, and then I almost feel like it's a constant pivot because we have to always. I said it, I think yesterday, and I'm sure I've said it before. It's kind of like when we're working with Google and we're working with Meta. It's like as a kid, it's like playing a game that your friend made up, and he's making the rules up as he goes along.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And you're like, wait, I have these 2 cards. Doesn't that mean? Well,
Yeah.
No, not this time.
Yeah.
Last time that meant that you won because I had those cards, but now this time it means you like this happens. So
Yes.
it is. We always have to keep our head on a swivel and be open to it.
And that, like, just thinking about, like, 5-6 years ago, we would have never thought we were in social media. And now it is one of those necessary evils that we talk about, whereas SEO is not sexy to someone, but if you're not doing it, you're not trying in a sense. And you have to have someone doing your SEO. You have to have someone doing your social, whether it's internal, external. We like to kind of work with a client that's going to contribute a little bit of their own guerrilla as social media content. But once again, as we started running ads on social, it was like we can't run ads to an empty house, as
like
you say,
ghost town, or like the house.
Can't have a party without people,
right?
Or drinks or whatever, however you party. But yeah, it's been, really interesting, kind of trying to fix the Rubik's Cube that is finding the right audience for our clients. And Stag Pack, I keep saying I feel like we're like right at the cusp of that door, like opening that door and then being like, oh shit, like there's a lot of people here.
Like the Kool-Aid man, right?
Yeah.
Just bust through the wall.
That's what you want to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Just run yourself through a wall.
Yeah. It's not always easy, but no, I thought like it was really cool. It's similar to Jeff, where he just it's nice to have a guest on that it's just like surprises you, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of good stories, a lot of good metaphors on that one. Certainly go check that one out.
Yeah,
especially if you're a Bills fan.
Yeah, right.
You can grab a Mafia pack.
That's right.
It's a good gift for any Bills fan. MafiaPack.com.
Yeah, it's all very cool stuff.
As we have a game Sunday, and it seems like every time I look at Twitter, there's another person injured. So
wonderful.
Not getting too excited about that. But I know that Lindsay, is it Giardina or Giardina? So I had a friend, Nick Giardina, back long time ago. But I know you had noticed a similarity in terms of pivoting with Lindsay.
Yeah. With her, I had asked her about bookkeeping, and she was kind of going into it. And at first I was thinking, well, kind of sounds like a daunting task to have to dive into these books on a regular basis and pick up where somebody else left off or clean up somebody else's mess. But she really enjoys it because she thinks it's like a puzzle. And then I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, the numbers, I think it does something with the brain where if you're you use one side of your brain more than the other. I can't remember which one it is, but it's the one that kind of is more factual, and doing math can actually help alleviate anxiety. And I was like, yeah, there's some times where I'm like, stressed out, and I'll go to QuickBooks. So I just, as I was saying, that's got to be daunting. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second, I sometimes do it to like chill out.
Yeah.
And but similar to what we do as well is with the bookkeeping and with some of the consulting things she does, she gets a behind the stage pass to so many different businesses. And I asked her how difficult it was to know when it's your turn to speak up and say, hey, look, I see you could be doing something differently that could help you succeed faster, better, be stronger.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you're not going to disagree. There's a lot of times when we're doing the marketing side of it and we see a process that if it was implemented, it could take those leads and really change their business. Some people are open to it. Some people aren't.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge to kind of figure out when it's your turn to step in.
Right.
And she said that there are some people who are very open to the feedback, and some people she's seen that just refuse to pivot. They've got a direction, and they're going to run with it whether it takes them into the ground or not. And she's seen some businesses close because of that. And then when I said, maybe it's the stubbornness, she also said, well, there's also some things that you don't know, because she had some very traumatic life events, in her life. And, she knows that life can sometimes, take priority over business. And so it's just not to assume that they're not pivoting because they're lazy or stubborn. It's just maybe there's outside, reasons or obstacles, and not to really push on it.
Right.
Because, once again, she chose this career so she can pay attention to her foster children, so she can, work a job on her hours. So once again, some people say that is, a great advantage of being a business owner. Some people say the opposite.
Right.
That you're kind of married to it.
Yeah. You don't clock out.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like the one thing that it like kind of screamed to me was, she mentioned a concept of, well, one, not taking criticism personally, And then 2, understanding that sometimes people just aren't a fit, and in terms of like clients, and that it's okay, and that there's a lot of other people out there, and like you can continue to ram your head into the wall with a client, but sometimes it's just like maybe you just need to go find another one. And like we say a lot around here, like years ago we started kind of coining the phrase karma clients, because we realized it's a lot more rewarding to work with someone that has a higher moral principle, and we can sort of trust them to be that way.
Right.
And if they're not that way, it just doesn't seem to ever work out. But then the other side, just like experience leading to seeing those red flags earlier, and sort of saving the time and energy ahead of time to just, you know what, maybe it's best that you can find someone that you work better with, and we will go find someone that we work better with.
Right.
And that's reality, because time is money. And if we're sitting around wasting a bunch of time on someone that doesn't want to implement processes and doesn't want to take our feedback or doesn't take what we say seriously, that's just not going to work.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And, you know, as she was saying, it's, you know, I asked her about what and who she turns to, and she said God is someone who she turns to, and that, you know, her faith is giving her the right answers, and I love that for her. You know, I think that it's great that considering everything she's gone through, once again, she could have a totally different demeanor, you know, by surviving cancer and losing her her partner. And you know, within a short period of time, she could be bitter and say, "What's this all about?" But she chooses to go the other road.
Yeah, the other road could certainly scream out to you and try to take you down that road instead.
And another, you know, she was told by somebody that she would be a good business owner because she understands all the systems. And another example of somebody who found themselves out of work and then looked at that as an opportunity rather than a curse.
Yeah.
Which Tracey, I think, has that kind of common thread as
Same
well.
thing, yeah, absolutely. Her Tracey McCormick from NRT, her and her husband Bill, they both actually, we learned right before, and we've known both of them. You've known them longer than I have, but
Another BHP connection.
yeah, we've known them for a while, and it wasn't until right before the show that we learned that both of them unfortunately ended up out of work. And after working long term, and once both of them were, is when Bill actually had the sort of wherewithal to say, like, no, let's go, we can do this. And now they're probably one of the industry leaders in what they do. And part of what they do, she also talked about God and faith. And what I found really interesting was what they do, you don't see at the surface. It's restroom trailers, it's laundry trailers, it's a unique product, it's sales, it's family. They have a family company. But some of what she finds most valuable is the fact that they provide solutions for some of these nonprofits and some of these people on this planet that might be homeless and need somewhere, a shelter in one of these sort of shelter trailers, one of these laundry trailers that after someone's home is destroyed and they just want to do laundry and have clean clothes, there's so much more to it. And I think like it really spoke to me in terms of just doing something that feels right and serving whatever greater purpose that you personally look up to, whatever, you know, religion or background that you are. Yeah.
And it shows that they definitely do it out of passion.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, helping them in the capacity that we do with some of their marketing, they're very modest.
Yeah.
They don't, like, we're begging them for some evidence of some of this good faith stuff that
Right.
they do. You know,
Yeah.
they're not interested in screaming from the rooftops. They're like, no, this is good stuff. We
Yeah.
gotta get that out there.
Yeah. And like hearing it back and kind of watching it from the outside after hosting with her, I just like I wrote down like passion meets purpose, and I think that's also why we started this podcast, is to try to lay into those stories a little bit deeper into what motivated these people, business owners generally, like, because everybody they can talk about their business, they can talk about their industry, their product, but like this show is supposed to be a little bit beneath that, a little bit deeper of a layer of like who these people are, what drives them, what drove them to enter these long, scary hallways. And I just found it really interesting that passion meets purpose. I feel like we might have to make it some part of our tagline or something here on Plant Your Flag.
It was where passion and excellence meets was our first tagline.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
And the Mortal Kombat logo.
Yeah. That
Drake,
flame
we're going to have
logo.
to get you the Mortal Kombat logo so
Yeah.
you got that to punch in. Maybe
Yeah.
right here.
Right here, yeah. It was because when I first started, there was this business consultant guy I was talking with, and he had had a designer, and the designer asked, visually, what do I like? And I said I find it to be very interesting on how water and fire, when you really just stare at them, they have a similar kind of texture. It looks like. The ripples in the water and the different areas of a flame, but yet one isn't friends with the other.
Yeah.
And then we came up with that tagline. So that's really the story behind it, and also the sparks of creativity.
Yeah.
It's like we're in charge of keeping that flame lit.
Yeah.
You help with the sparks, we keep it going.
Yeah.
So there was some
keeping
story
the flow
behind
of leads
it, but I
and
think
sales
the
coming
bean
in.
is a much more popular rendition of our brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first time seeing it, I was like, what's this company? Like, this guy's doing commercials with Andersons and Value?
Right. Yeah.
Like, who is this guy?
Yeah, I think we're still kind of in that. Like, I think some people know us really well. And
Right.
Other people we just kind of
Yeah.
fly under the radar.
Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah, we like it this way.
Yeah. You get to know us a little bit.
Yeah.
We hang out.
You might like what you see.
Yeah. You might. You might not.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. There's got to be something. Where was that from? You might like what you see. I don't know. I'll think about it.
Yeah.
I'll have to drop it in the comments myself.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I figure it out.
Lastly, Dan Kautz from Kautz Buckley.
Yeah, Dan's great.
Another comedic character for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like one of a kind, like a movie character.
We kind of started working with Steve and Dan around the same time. And
Yeah.
I think they both have like very different sense of humor, but both very good guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And he also knows Jeff
Yeah,
Boron,
right.
which is just small world.
Yeah.
Of course, Williamsville. Speaking
Right.
of
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Dan, what I took was like two things. One, he spoke about measuring his day in hugs in terms of like the rewarding nature of what he does. He said like the money is one thing, but like the real reward comes in like the spark of joy that he sees in his clients. And I think once again, it kind of rolls back to what we were just talking about with our clients and that fulfillment. And then the other side of it being I wrote down processes and you had asked him about like what sort of gave him his initial confidence when he kind of got over the hump. And he said processes are important. He said put a process in place and it's going to bring confidence and it's going to let the client know that the next step is expected. And once again, that was something that I learned within the freedom of creativity of this company under you. I have said to employees coming in, this is kind of like, it can be extremely rewarding or it can be extremely scary because there's not always someone going to be looking over your shoulder telling you exactly what to do. And I have found great success individually and with the company with that freedom and with sort of, I guess, coaching myself and finding things to do, finding ways to improve and finding processes, and that noticing that once the client sees there's a process in place, they do sort of trust you, take a step back, let you kind of do what you want to do. But without that process, they're like, you could just, it's kind of like being a server when you're new and walking up to a table and you could see on their face, they immediately know that you're new. And you're just like, fuck, this isn't going to go well.
Right.
Versus doing it for 10 years and you walk up and you could see that that boomer guy is like, "Nah, I've got myself a server tonight,"
Right,
and he's
yeah.
like chumming up to you right away.
Yeah. It's just you, as the guest, obviously I've worked in corporate. If I call people guests,
Yeah. Drilled
as
into
a
your
guest,
brain.
you're kind of like when you could tell that there's fear in their eyes. It's
Yeah.
like, maybe I'll just get the chicken fingers and play
Yeah.
it safe today.
Yeah, exactly. And like, the whole like opposite, the other side of it being like, like this guy's just gonna finish this beer. I'm just gonna bring him another one.
Yeah,
It's like you develop those processes even as a server. But like nowadays, it's clear that even like we talk with Nick, our colleague, former Meta employee, now individual consultant, but he was always like, he's very complimentary of some of the tracking measures that I put in place. But that was by necessity. That was to prove to the client, like, okay, here, you can always say it doesn't work, but
and I think it goes back to that kind of that 1 + 1 = 3 kind of thing, because you certainly identified some things being close to it but far enough away to help with some of those processes, some of those reporting mechanisms. Brought that to the table, helps me. But even with Dan, I joked around about on social media. The one clip that we shared was he was talking about, are you the business owner who's at 5 o'clock, all the employees are gone and you're still there? I could kind of see the look on my own face of thinking like, that's me. Are your systems, maybe your systems aren't in place. So I put a question up saying like, are the first in last out kind of thing? Is that like yesterday's news? It's like now with the, or we trying to work smarter, not harder, that kind of thing. But there's also like there's certain things that are difficult to get to from 9 to 5, at least in my world, that are easy to get to after everybody's gone, whether it be creative stuff or just the phone's not ringing. Kind of stuff. So,
I even have found like in staying later more recently, like there's certainly once again a freedom of like, okay, I know that at least after 5 o'clock, there's not going to be a new fire to put out, or like it's at least like, okay, have some time to just live within it. And then even at home sometimes too, I was just talking about like after like not like being outside of the office, I myself not being a business owner, but trying to kind of stay in that mindset of like not necessarily clocking out so that we can keep this thing growing. But like taking a look at something off the clock and just being like, okay, now I'm Jeremy, a pedestrian outside of work. What is my perspective on this website or this ad or this post? And trying to kind of like play a different character. It is beneficial for like, okay, now I see it, trying to see it from the lens of someone else, really.
Yeah, and you're kind of in that mode where you do it enough, been doing it so long that it's kind of like a second language. You're thinking about it, dreaming about it, that kind of stuff. So
and like it's not the same as the dreams of being weeded, working in a restaurant, like the nightmares. Right. It's not those dreams.
That's good. Yeah. I remember like I could have nightmares about chicken wings boiling over.
My wife still has dreams about serving, and she's been out of it for 5 years now, I think, and it never leaves you.
No,
but it builds character.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And Dan, talk about building character, like taking some of the things he learned, went to school for horticulture, but he started his first business at like 9 or 10 years old. Sold it by 23. So he built an actual, so he was doing it as a hobby, just going around the neighborhood. And then as he got older, started to put more in place, went to school for it. And we had a good laugh about the higher something or another in Amsterdam, like the School of Learning, and was able to take some of those processes that he had, like talk about like planting something in good soil and taking that analogy and using it in his new career. But I've never heard of anyone before he mentioned it. You hear people saying like playing doctor, playing house, playing restaurant. I've never heard anyone playing office.
No.
And the fact that he like remembers making the buttons on it for an elevator out of an egg carton.
Yeah.
And like making these cardboard box office kind of things.
Yeah.
is pretty cool. And then, him getting crap about it from his older siblings. When he started the sweating every day and, having to go out in the weather.
Yeah.
Like not having an office, and then, reevaluating and then learning from what he didn't like about his role as a business owner, just kind of breaking his back literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And then making sure when he launched his new career that he learned from it and applied things to allow him to have that office.
Yeah.
And allow him to not have to sweat. And even just something as simple as not having to get up, check the weather, and potentially call crews off.
Adjusting the
and
schedule.
And being happy about being able to go to work when it's raining.
Yeah.
That's a very cool, breath of fresh air kind of perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like anybody that sells their business at 23, like they're going somewhere.
Yeah, right. If you sold your first one at 23.
Yeah. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who bought it? I'm going to have to ask him. Like, he must have had the corner. He must have had the market cornered for someone to be like, you know what, son, I'm going to have to buy you out.
Right.
I'll have to ask him.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what the end of it was, but I know what he's doing now. And he's got, according to his hug count, he's doing all right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, that it was good. Like I said, all of them are good. It's tough if somebody ever had to say, like, pick out your favorite. It'd be a tough one. I love doing these. It's always cool jumping on with you because we started this in 2015 doing this kind of stuff. And then we took a break until 24. So we took like a night.
Yeah, we're a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
That's what you got to be sometimes, though.
Right back to the beginning of the conversation with keeping your eye on what's going on outside of the area.
Yeah, and now I have a wife that constantly wants to drink Starbucks, and I've actually become quite a Starbucks fan.
Yeah.
At that point, I did not like Starbucks because it was too hot, and now I'm drinking Starbucks every other day.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still have it, but still not top of my list. I'm still okay with crappy coffee.
Monroe Muffler coffee.
Yeah. I have started to put a little bit of cream in since 2015, a little bit of almond cream in there.
Yeah.
Because that was the problem before, is when it would be too hot, right?
Yeah.
And then they would question if you just wanted a couple ice cubes.
It is still sometimes too hot, though.
Yeah.
And they give you a double cup, and you're just like, listen, if you need to double cup this, just throw some fucking ice cubes in there.
Please.
Because I'm not going to be able to drink this.
Right. Yeah. So we'll have to reshare that again. That was a cool animation our buddy Nick did when he was doing our video.
Yeah.
But no, I'm glad that we had the chance to do this. So would you like to have any parting words, or do you want to just send us off with our like, share, subscribe, all of the above messaging?
I think if you've made it this far, really appreciate you sticking around and watching. And ideally, like I said in the beginning, I hope that this show, one of these people, us, hopefully it just drives some form of inspiration in your own life, whether you're an employee or a manager or a leader of a freaking Fortune 500 company. We're all out here trying. So that's what we're just always trying to break down, how people do this. And I don't know, it's fun for us. So hopefully it's fun for you.
Yeah. And it's something we've never really done before, which maybe we should. It just occurred to me while you were talking. If you want to be on the Plant Your Flag podcast, or you know somebody who'd be a great fit, get a hold of us or put it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it because we have a lot of resources, a lot of connections. But at some point, we're going to run out of people we know. So if you have any interest, please let us know.
Yeah. Regardless of what you do.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't discriminate.
You just have to be cool, man.
Yeah. Definitely got to be cool, man.
Yeah.
So if you can be cool, you can be on Plant Your Flag.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.
1 2 1 2. Mic talk.
Oh, 1 2 3
Okay.
4. I thought you were talking about Mike as MIC.
Fuck, I forgot to blow my nose. I'll be right back. Yeah.
You help with the sparks. We keep it going.
Yeah.
So there was some
keeping
story
the flow
behind
of
it,
leads
but I
and
think
sales
the
coming
Bean
in.
is a much more popular rendition.
If I don't blow my nose, I sound like I'm fucking Alzheimer's. Unique New York. Unique New York.
New York.
Warm up. P's and Q's.
Mind yours.
Time is 3:55 roughly.
356, Drake.
Sorry, I can't read. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.